Here we go. You're watching the REXER'S show.
All right, here we go. We are live, and guys, for first introductions here, I got to do something before that. I wanted to make you guys feel at home, so so I just wanted to do a little something for you. Welcome to the REXER'S show.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do it now. Let's do it.
I like it. That's awesome, dude.
All right. So I wanted to make you guys feel at home because
thank you.
Normally, you guys aren't on this side of the fence. So it's a little interesting to have you guys, as my guests for a change. So, but I also want to tell a story, guys. And first, hello, Justin. Say hello to our fans. We always want to say hello to our fans.
Hey, guys.
And Ralph, everybody knows who you are, and no introductions necessary. Thank you.
What's up?
And everybody in the chat, thank you for showing up, and you're going to enjoy this show. And for starters, though, before we talk about the show and how it works and everything like that, I just wanted to tell a quick story, Ralph, about when we met, when Justin and you, when we met.
Oh, boy.
And
okay.
I told this story once, so some people might know it, but some people don't remember it. But I told the story of when I ran into you guys, and I walked up to you guys. You guys are standing side by side. And I say, oh, hey, Retro Ralph. And I didn't know Justin at the time, really. And I shake your hand. And Ralph, you're staring at me like a deer in the headlights when I say, oh, it's the REXER'S show. You're like, yeah, the REXER'S show. I know, yeah, how you doing, So then it was very nice of you to act like you knew who I was, even though. But then I go on my way a little bit, and I look back at you guy, and I see Ralph go to Justin, who the hell is the REXER'S show?
Oh, no, you did.
And Justin goes like this. And I'm like, okay, no big deal, whatever, But no, then we hung out for a little bit. And,
we had fun.
Yeah, we had some fun. But
you sure my face wasn't like that? Because I was like, who is this 7'2" man in front of me? Well, I mean, you're a pretty tall dude,
That's what I remember. I remember
you being
Ralph
huge.
Going,
I was like,
he's way taller than I thought, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah, well,
see, that's how it went.
The other part, I think like your wheels were churning. Should I know this guy? Is he with Arcade 1-Up? Is he? Because we were in the Arcade 1-Up booth, and like, had you met me before? It was kind of, so it was funny. Like, but it gets even better. Sorry, I got to tell one more quick one. Just one more quick one before I start the show. So then we're kind of hanging out. We're looking at things, and you guys are about to go live, okay? And Justin's got the camera, and I'm like, what are these guys doing? And we were by the countercades, right? And they're display models and they're display units. You're not supposed to touch them. You're not supposed to do anything. People are just looking. And here comes Ralph. And he grabs the thing off the shelf.
Right.
And he holds it up high. And both of them, Justin and Ralph, at the same time bellow out, it's the Arcade 1-Up countercade. And everybody in the place is looking at you guys, and they think I'm with you, and I start walking back, and I'm like, I'm not with those guys. I'm not with those guys. I'm not associated with them.
That was a smart move.
So,
Yeah, that's hilarious, because when we did that, I think we were both in the zone. We in a bubble. We had no clue anyone heard us at all.
Yeah. Oh, it was so funny.
That's
and I was
awesome.
like, okay, but then, all right. Anyway, let's get into the show, guys. For those of you who haven't seen this show before, what we do is we have 6 topics, and they're on the TV behind me, but I'm going to bring them up right here for you so you can see them. And basically, we spend 3 minutes on each topic. I ask some questions, and then we move on to the next one. So if you don't like the topic, guys, in the chat, just stick around. Just stick around, and we'll get to the next topic, and it'll change the subject. So with that said, there is one topic in here that is not arcade related. These are mainly arcade or retro game related, but there's one topic that isn't in here, and we just talk about that for a little bit. But let's start. 1 is Fight Club. 2 is Ready Player Arcade 1-Up. 3 is Serial Killer. 4 is BYOP, easy as 1, 2, 3. 5 is Perception is the 1-Up Weekly Reality.
Okay.
And 6 is Honesty is the best YouTube policy. So I guess since Justin's on top, I guess we'll go with Justin first. Yeah, we're gonna mix it up a little bit. Whoever's on the top right goes.
I'll go with honesty is the best YouTube policy.
Okay, so honesty is the best policy, right, in general. And when we talk about YouTube, I always look at these videos and I kind of wonder, when people are doing reviews of components and gizmos and gadgets and they get them for free, I always wonder, can I trust this guy's opinion? Can I trust what he's saying if he's gotten this video, this unit for free, or he has some sort of relationship with him? So Justin, I'm going to ask you, have you gotten stuff for free? Can you do a genuine review of a unit if somebody gave it to you free, or if you have a relationship with them?
I don't have as much experience as other people doing free stuff, and I'm watching that timer. But as a viewer of YouTube, I'll give an example. There's a YouTuber that I love watching, Lawn.tv, and the way that he approaches, every video where he says, now, out of full disclosure, I did review this, I did receive this unit for free, but no one is paying me for my opinion, and no one reviewed this video before me making this video. And I think that's a good separation. If no one reviewed the video, some people will have the person who gave them the product for free won't want them to release the video unless that person first reviewed it. And if they honestly are like, I'm just putting it out there, and what it is what it is, I think it's better. My time is running out.
No, you get all the time if you want.
Get all the
we'll
time?
worry about Ralph. But let me go on to, I got a couple other questions. Now,
Okay.
I hate when people do a review and they only give the specs and what it is and the facts, right? And I don't want to say ETA Prime does that, but it took everything in his might when I watched one of his Arcade 1-Up videos to say, yeah, these joysticks aren't that good on the first gen one. I mean, it took everything he had. So Justin, really quick, who, besides you mentioned the one YouTube channel, whose other videos can we trust in a channel where you don't think they're skewed or biased by relationships or getting something for free?
Scarlet Sprites. I do a lot of studying of YouTubers, and Scarlet Sprite starts with his last video as six minutes of facts before he starts talking about his opinion. And I think that's a really good pattern for YouTubers, where they start with, I'm giving away trade secrets, aren't I? But anyway, that's what he does, right? And he focuses on hardware and technology and explaining the tech before he's actually, I don't know, just he seems very genuine.
Okay, well, let's move to Ralph. Ralph, I'm going to extend this just for a little bit and pause because I know you got a lot to say. But I talk to you a lot, and you don't get a lot of free stuff. You buy a I don't even know, I'll say 90%. But
yeah, that's
but there are some that you have to do, and you can't tell me that your review is not skewed by either the fact that, oh, I'll never get something free again, I'll ruin my relationship with this guy. So please tell me what your thoughts on if you are.
So I have had products. I have a relationship with Tom Top and another one with Bang Good, and I know it's a weird name, but both of those I've gotten products and I actually haven't done the reviews. And either they tell me to send them back or they tell me to keep it. And I just didn't feel comfortable doing the review because it was so bad. Like, I felt like I'd just be trashing the whole thing the whole time. And then I was like, I don't even like this product. So instead of even doing a review, I just won't even do it. So I do have like a little bit of a gauge where I'm like, if this thing's total crap, I don't even want to do the review because I just don't, like, there's no point. I'm just going to say a lot of bad things. But I will say, like, there's been times where I'm like wondering how I should handle this certain thing because it's something that's maybe, it could be major. So I'll usually go back to the manufacturer. I've done this before with Game Room Solutions. Like, Game Room Solutions sent me the cabinet. You've probably seen the video. I had to jigsaw out part of the cabinet to get my monitor to fit. I showed that in the video and I talked about it in the video too. But Ryan didn't get back to me till after I published it. So I had to go back in the comment section and say Ryan made it right. But yeah, it's a I would say a best practice is go back to the manufacturer if it's something where you're like, is this just a flaw? Did I get a bad one? Or is it really just, is that how it actually works? So
okay,
it's
let me ask you this, the $64,000 question.
Okay.
You have a relationship with 1-Up and some of the people with 1-Up. Does that affect your videos when you do reviews or shows on them?
I mean, maybe to a degree. I think if you look at my older stuff, I was really brutal. Like, I'd be like, this joystick sucks. Where I think the joysticks don't suck anymore. They're a lot better, but they're still not great. but I'd never say it sucks. You know what I mean? Because, well, it doesn't suck anymore. But if you look at my old stuff, I was very transparent about joysticks suck. You should just replace them. Where now I'm like, they're durable enough, but you still might want to replace them, right? So, yeah, there's a little level of, I think the way you word things, if you have a better relationship with a company, is different, right?
Yeah, I do too, and that's why I say it's hard not to be skewed. I've had one person who has offered me something free to use and review, and I said no because I just didn't want to deal with it. Yeah, and that's it. So I don't know this, but I will say,
in summary though,
no, you can't answer the question. It's over. The timer's up.
It does skew you a bit.
Okay, but I want to give one, and I was shocked that he gave his full opinion and truth, and he got the video as a review unit, which was completely shocking that he gave his fair opinion and said what he thought, which wasn't all that great. It was good. It was really good, but it wasn't all that great. But the test is now, can he do that with At Games? Because obviously I know he has a relationship with them, so we'll see when that comes up whether he can do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next subject, and Ralph, go for it.
I get to pick. Hey, Rexer, I think your amp is still on.
Yeah.
Oh,
just real quick, if you could kill it.
Is that better?
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Why didn't you say that before?
Well, I didn't want to interrupt the middle of the show.
Okay.
All right. So I can pick. I'm gonna say I want 5. Perception is 1UP weekly reality.
Oh boy, we're kicking this off with a bang right now. I'm telling you right now, because this is the only one that we'll have a little question on. So
I think I can guess what it is.
So well, Ralph, what do you think it's about? I mean, we talk a little bit. No, I won't even say that. Let's not even go there, because I want to preface it though with the people in the crowd that me and you have a lot of talk about your show and the relationship with 1UP. But before we even get into that, let's say, I want to ask you a quick question.
Sure.
Do you see anything similar in this picture that I'm about to show?
I guess
that's where we're going with this. Is there anything similar?
The one is slightly similar.
The 1UP is okay. So the question is here. I kind of want you to clear the air. I kind of want you, how much affiliation or how much is your show about 1UP, and what was the original idea? Is what was it supposed to all be about 1UP, or what's the deal with the logo matching, and how much affiliation do you have with 1UP?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously there's no sponsorship with 1UP. There's no influence from 1UP on the show. We can talk about whatever we want on the show. So there's absolutely 1UP has zero influence on it as far as like, hey, we're paying for ads or we're paying for you to advertise or anything like that. So that's off the table completely. Actually, the funny thing is Justin had tried to get me to do a podcast type show for a really long time, and I always said no. And the name actually came from, I was driving back from Vegas from CES, and we were bouncing around a bunch of names, and we came up with one that we really liked, and then that was like taken or whatever. We bounced it back and forth, and we landed on 1UP, and a lot of it did have to do with the fact that we're like, well, we do talk about 1UP. It's an arcade related term, and from a search engine optimization standpoint, people, when they look for me, at least, they look, usually it's like Arcade 1UP Retro Ralph or something like that. Mm-hmm. So we figured, hey, if 1UP was in the name and Justin was covering a lot of 1UP stuff, it is going to help drive people to the show. But we didn't want it to be, we're not covering just 1UP. I mean, if you go back to our early shows before it was called that, we cover we cover anything we really want to. I mean, we just did an episode all about movies from the 80s. You know what I mean? So, so it, you know what I'm saying?
I do.
But I can see what you're going with it, though.
Okay, Justin, so at the beginning of the conversation, one of you said to each other, this kind of looks like the 1UP logo. Do you think maybe we should change it? Or do you think that our show would be affiliated with 1UP too much? Did Ralph say that, or did you say that?
No, I mean, honestly, this is what, I got 30 seconds. This is what happened. We were coming up with a name. At some point, we said 1UP Podcast. And then we're like, wait, we both have this common trend where we're like, he picked the name Retro Ralph, so those both have R sounds. I have console kits. We both separately were like, came up with that, and we said, what has a W sound? And we came up with 1UP Weekly. And we both said, wait, some people are going to think it's all about Arcade 1UP. And and some people are going to say, you guys have to do a show every week. And we both said, who cares? Because of the search engine optimization side. And then it sounds good.
Yeah.
Right. And then we hired someone else to build the logo, and they probably, I think we told them, like, borrow the 1UP logo from other places. And if you go look, the 1UP logo looks like that in a lot of places other than Arcade 1UP.
By the way, the one that I did send him from an example wasn't Arcade 1UP. It was from a bar in Denver called the 1UP. Called 1UP.
1UP. Mm-hmm.
So that's the one I showed him. So it wasn't actually the 1UP one, but I think we did lead him down the path where he did see the 1UP one too, and he kind of like mashed it up.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and let me just get to the point. If I make a show about tennis shoes and I call it the Rexy Weekly and I use the Nike swoosh, right? What do you think people are going to think my show's about? They're going to think it's about Nike. But if I start talking about Reebok and everything else, they're going to go, well, I thought this show was about 1UP. And
I'll tell you.
I'm not saying that's bad. I'm saying it's great that you guys.
I will tell you, once we got the branding all worked out, full disclosure here, we were worried that Arcade 1UP would see too much of similarity. And Scott said it was fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we did actually. We did actually ask him, and he said it. He said it was fine.
He said it was fine, but it was no like. It was really. Are you going to sue us? You're not going to sue us? Okay, good.
Okay, good. We're good. We're not getting sued. That's good.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
But now I want to see the REXER tennis show just like Nostalgia said. I kind of want to see that show.
Right. Oh, that's terrible. All right. Let me get the whose turn is it? I believe
it's Justin's turn now.
Justin's turn now. All right. Let me bring this back up. We'll go like this, and we have a few left here. We have Fight Club, Ready Player 1UP, Serial Killer, and BYOP Easy as 1, 2, 3 left.
How about Fight Club?
Okay, Fight Club. Justin, take a stab at what we're going to talk about here. What are we going to talk about?
Fighting games?
Fighting games. I knew you could.
I was going to say Zohar, but never mind.
Yeah.
All right. So, fighting games for 1UP. You know, we talked about Street Fighter, and they have Marvel vs. Superheroes and Marvel vs. Capcom, now X-Men, and everybody talks about, well, let's go to online fighting. And that's great. And maybe we'll talk about that, but not right now. That's not what this question is about. The question is more about, why don't we hear 1UP talk about Street Fighter 2 Alpha, Street Fighter 3 Alpha, Third Strike, other fighting games, whether, it's a PGM game or something, where maybe Tekken. Where are we going with fighting games in 1UP, and what would you like to see them do next?
Okay, well, here's the thing. So I think one of the very first cabinets that Arcade 1UP came out with was the Street Fighter cabinet, and that was when, Scott was building a relationship with John D, who eventually he hired. Now, I think they've worked out a roadmap, and part of that roadmap is we're going to integrate new technologies. So, like, for example, NBA Jam, they probably could have gotten the license. Remember the leak from, like, a year ago, like they were working on NBA Jam, but were they working on NBA Jam with Cosmetics with the ability to do net play? Don't know. Maybe they could have released it a year ago, but they probably waited. They targeted for the release when the technology was there. Now we have Street Fighter early on. They did that because it's a big title and they can get it to Walmart. They could break their brand. They can get it out there, right? I think they're going to readdress and bring some of those fighting games back when the technology grows and makes sense to do that.
Well, okay, but are they looking at online more now than looking at more titles for fighting games, or do you really think they're going to bring out, and what can they do? Can they do they can do I know they can do Alpha and Alpha 2 and all that stuff. That's simple. Third Strike even. I mean, they can do all that with their hardware, correct? With 1UP's hardware.
Well, also then, sure, they could do it with some of their hardware, but depending on what title it is and how many they predict they'll sell, they could 1UP that hardware even more, right? To that next level. That's a possibility.
And that's where the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 subject comes in, is if they were going to do that, they'd have to upgrade their hardware, or even a Killer Instinct, which is, even worse to probably run that.
Right. And then coming with the timing, all they have to do is just wait a year for that technology. I mean, they're not obviously coming up with the ARM Cortex chip that's out there in the market. They have to wait for those chipsets to come into their price range, right?
Yeah.
So they might just be waiting.
Yeah, and they're commenting here about Third Strike. I don't think Third Strike harder to run than any of those other ones, personally, from what I see. But a lot of people like Third Strike. Okay, Ralph, I know you have a couple favorite fighting games that you would like to see. What can we see from 1UP, and what would you like to see?
So I just want to let you know we haven't they haven't really talked a lot about what the roadmap looks like for fighting games, but my guess is the way they always look at everything is they look at everything really big. They're like, all right, could we sell 10,000? Could we order 10,000 of these and sell out? Right? Is it that big of a title? So my guess is that from here forward, they're going to think of the biggest ones they could possibly get. And with John D having the relationship with Capcom, I would guess like the one that they would do and everyone would want would be Marvel. You mentioned it. Marvel, if you could get a Marvel versus Capcom 2, I think so many people would want, including myself, would want that cabinet, right? So I think they're thinking big. How many units can I move? So if it's like obscure Street Fighter titles or ones that were popular but more popular to the hardcore fan and not to the masses, they'll probably skip that. That's what I think.
What about Tekken? Is Tekken popular enough? Can that be run?
So it's
Tekken
weird.
2. Let's say Tekken 2, because Tekken 1.
I like never liked. I don't know what it was. I was the 2D fighter guy, so like Tekken was Tekken Law. It didn't,
I think they were almost
work for me.
No, it didn't work for me either. I never liked Tekken, but it's almost like they were thinking about it too hard, Justin, with Tekken, because they had like the left foot low, left foot, right punch, and it's like, why? I just want to punch. I don't care.
Right.
What do you think about Tekken?
Well, I'm the same way. Like, honestly, I was never into those games in that era.
I'm trying to think.
I think I was still stuck playing Street Fighter.
Right.
And Tekken would have been on. I'm trying to think. Was Tekken a launch title for? It was one of the launch titles for PS1, wasn't it? If I remember right.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So I had it on
Tekken.
PS1. I remember I got that, and there was it Ridge Racer maybe? I remember getting it with like Ridge Racer and maybe Tekken. And I remember being like, screw Tekken. I didn't play it. I played Ridge Racer because that was all I could get.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. Enough about fighting. Oh, wait a second. I almost forgot. I'm going to show a little clip here. We talk about fighting games. I got to do my segment. It's called REXER'S Show Quick Tips.
All right, cool.
All right, and basically, guys, Ralph, I know you have problems with Mortal Kombat and you don't like to use the block function. But basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you some tips, Ralph, on how you can beat Mortal Kombat on arcade.
I need it. Yeah,
and
I need it.
let's bring up this video here. Let me close out here. Sorry, guys, we have a little technical difficulties. But what this quick tip is going to show you, it's going to show you a strategy for beating Mortal Kombat, guys. And here it comes. Give me 1 second here.
Kintaro's Kickathon was pretty effective.
I was going to mention this. This is not the Kintaro Kickathon. Just so everybody knows, this is not the Kintaro. This is not the Kintaro Kickathon.
Right.
And here we go. And I'm going to walk us through it here. So basically, on the first rounds, it's pretty easy. You do your standard moves, your uppercuts. They work. Everything works. You can get through the first guy. You get to the second person. It's a little bit more tricky, but you might want to use some sweeps here and some standard jump overs and some tricks like that. But when we get to the third, fourth, and moving forward, guys, you can use this same strategy that I'm about to show you here. But until you get to them, you're going to have to beat the first two guys. Now, in the third level, they get a little trickier, okay? You got to use a combination of sweeps and jump backs. And what you're trying to do is get the opponent to jump on you. Just like that, use a roundhouse, use an uppercut, jump back, kick. Be careful to get caught in the corner. You're going to take some beating in the corner, but he'll throw you out of it if he has to. And just keep jumping back, and he'll kick out. You can use this strategy even moving forward, where fourth guy, fifth guy, it works on them all. And you can do some different moves as well, like jump kicks and stuff like that. And the good thing, Ralph, is you don't really need to use your block too much. Just a combination, of sweeps and just some roundhouse kicks or some uppercuts. And this will take you all the way through to Kintaro or the bosses, and you'll have to beat them on your own. No tricks here on how to beat them. Nice. You'll have to Google that or so.
That's pretty cool.
This is, and to me, it'll make the game a little more fun for people who, don't have somebody else to play, but they get to that third or fourth level and they're like, man, this game stinks. It gets too hard. And now, granted, that was for MAME. I don't play a lot on the console fighting games, but I know they're super hard. Mortal Kombat is super hard on a lot of the console games, and I don't know any tricks for that one. So there you go. I hope you guys enjoyed that video.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, and the quick tips are sponsored by nobody, like I say, because I'm not sponsored by anybody.
I thought it was sponsored by Nike.
Yeah, Rexy, the Rexy show, tennis shoe show. Okay, well, we don't want that one. Hold on. If you guys are jumping in now, then you see that we did this little comparison of logos here. But
see, notice we asked them to put CRT scan lines on it. It's not those big pixels, you know. So
all right. So who's up, Ralph?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Okay, what do we have? We have what do we have left? Ready Player One Up, Serial Killer, and BYOP. Easy as 1, 2, 3.
I'm gonna do. I want number 2. Ready Player or Arcade 1-Up.
Okay, you've seen the movie Ready Player One Up, right?
Ready Player 1.
The movie.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and it's kind of about futuristic stuff. It was kind of about virtual reality.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about virtual reality with 1-Up, but we're going to talk about online play. Okay. And I'm going to give you a list of types of genre games that I want to know if Arcade 1-Up has the possibility, if it's even possible first, just say possible or not possible, okay, to this genre. And then after I list the games, I want to know which ones are probable that they would do, okay?
Okay.
So we'll start with possible, not possible, beat 'em ups and shmups.
Possible.
Okay. Fighting games.
Possible.
Racing games.
Possible.
Golden Tee bowling type trackball games.
Not possible.
And light gun games.
To play them online?
Yeah.
Or just can they be
Is it possible for one person to have the one side of Buck Hunter? And
I'm not gonna go. I'm gonna say not possible for right now.
Okay. All right. So, which ones of those that I listed are actually probable, and what would you like to see as an online game?
I think fighting games are definitely probable. I just and I want Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I'm never gonna stop till I get Marvel vs. Capcom 2 because it's the one I want, for sure.
But that would make it harder. I mean, even Marvel vs. Capcom 2, the online play, it's the same whatever fighting game you play with. I mean,
yeah.
Or is it more difficult? You think it's the same no matter what ROM it is?
I think it's gonna be important that they partner with someone that has really good netcode, right? So I would lean toward. We all know that the cabinets that have the different feel, they feel higher quality, are the ones that Code Mystics has done. Those are the ones, the Star Wars and NBA Jam, they feel different than the rest, and that's because that company, they're really good at what they do. Yeah. And that can be seen across the stuff they do on consoles and everything else. So it's not like this is like their first rodeo or anything. Right. So
Justin, you agree with the possible, not possible from Ralph?
Yeah, I think so. When you're going down the route of the net code and net play, it's all smoke and mirrors, right? So you can have lots of delay. You're playing a video game locally that's being influenced by another player. It's not one. I mean, what's real time, right? Real time would be within a frame or two, but the fact that net play allows you to glide, you can be you can note the other player can be sending signals to you up to 250 milliseconds past the time it was needed, and the game can correct. So that really opens up the possibility. That technology allows a lot of things to be online gameplay.
Right. What would you like to see, though?
Looks like my time's out. No. Oh, well, of course. I'd love to see those big titles because I'd like to see Arcade 1-Up succeed. And those are going to bring in even more titles, So my answer is kind of weird. Like, I want, the obvious ones, because then I want, this is not, I want something big like that can bring us like Donkey Kong. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think we need Arcade 1-Up to go to the next level so that they can get the license. It's like they're playing a game, right? And each time they come out with a new game, they're going to the next level. And they need that next level to be able to make that big phone call to Nintendo.
Yeah.
Rexer, can I have like 5 more seconds?
Let me comment first, please.
Okay,
All right.
okay.
It's the Rexer show. This isn't Retro Ralph show.
That's right.
So
Hey,
anyway.
I'm respecting that.
So I would like to see some beat 'em ups, actually. I'd love to play Cadillacs and Dinosaurs online and some of those. They're just really fun. And with a few people, it makes them even better. So I'd love to see that and fighting games, obviously. Go ahead, Ralph.
So the one thing that it would be really cool if they could do is everyone wants racing cabinets, right? It'd be neat to say, okay, if I have a Daytona USA and you have one and Justin has one, we can participate in a race. But what would also be cool is for the person that wants to have 2 of them next to each other, you can local link. I think it'd be cool to say you could local link your cabinets, and then over Wi-Fi or
Right.
Ethernet, whatever. That would be really cool because I think people want driving so bad. It's probably the genre I hear the most is I want driving, and it's always
Yep.
Daytona USA. So
Yep. No, exactly. Okay. Let's move on. We have, what do we have? Who's up?
it's Justin, I think.
Justin and then Ralph. So we have 2 topics left, and one of them is still the non-arcade related topic. So you still have to pick that. Go ahead. What are you picking?
I'll go with serial killer.
Serial killer. This is the non-arcade related topic.
Oh.
All right. So last week, if you guys watched the show, we
boy.
talked about the top 5 rock bands of all time, and we had a debate over whether Foo Fighters is in there or not. Today,
We're not going to talk about RS-220, 232, some serial DB9
All right,
connections.
now you're getting wicked.
no,
You're-
no, we're not
the fact
talking
that you even
about
thought that.
All right.
Wow.
My kid, here's what we're talking about. My kid likes cereal now. He always talks about Lucky's, and he's like, I want to eat Lucky's, and he's talking about Lucky Charms.
All right.
So I say, man, Lucky's are sweet. You know, I said, Fruity Pebbles is a better cereal. Fruity Pebbles is the best. It's one of the top 3. So let's say Fruity Pebbles is in the top 3. You don't get to argue about that one. What are the next 2 best cereals that you like?
Wow, you took Fruity Pebbles, so yeah.
Yeah, give me your next 2.
My next 2 is I don't eat this very often. So the cereals that I don't eat very often are probably the ones that I don't like the most because I'm trying to lower the amount of sugar that I intake. So I haven't been getting Fruit Loops.
It's a good one.
And then I'm trying to get another one. You know, I'll say the one that I've been eating lately. It's cinnamon rice checks.
Cinnamon
so
rice
boring.
checks. Yeah, that sounds boring. But go okay.
It's good.
All right, Ralph. What are your 2?
Well, you took
Okay.
Fruity Pebbles. Come on.
I
It's the best
know.
cereal
That's
ever.
why I'm not letting you argue if Fruity Pebbles is the
Okay,
best.
I don't eat a lot of cereal anymore because I'm actually trying to lose some weight. But
Yeah.
my son, he loves Lucky Charms, and I like eating the marshmallows out of the Lucky Charms. So like that's super fun. And then the other one I used to like, I don't even know if they make it anymore. What's the one that was like? It's like little cookies.
Cookie Crisp.
Yeah. So you get me a Cookie Crisp or a Lucky Charms, those are my 2.
Well, Cookie Crisp is definitely one that could be on the top of the list. But we have Frosty Minutes, Captain Crunch with the Crunch Berries is always a top
Oh,
one.
that's a good one. Yeah. There's a lot. They're good.
There is, but I'll tell you my 2 in a second. But
All
what I
right.
was showing before was one when I was a kid, and you guys saw this clip come up. There was a cereal called Rainbow Bright, and it was the best cereal I've ever had, but they discontinued it. It was like a combination of Fruity Pebbles and like Kicks or something like that, or Tricks.
So
Fruity Pebbles
they
and Tricks.
cut the Fruity Pebbles with Kicks. Is that what you're saying?
Hey, what the hell?
It was the best cereal, and as a kid, I'll always remember that. But nobody probably remembers that cereal even existed, which is funny. But my next two favorite, you guys will laugh: Cracklin' Oat Bran and Frosted Mini Wheats. So, but yeah,
It's a big departure from that one.
Yeah.
Well, you can't always have sweet cereals.
And
You
now
can't
you're
always
making
have-
fun of my cinnamon rice checks. Okay. I don't know.
Yeah. But here's look at Arcade 1-Up cereal. Here we go.
There you go.
You got to sell it to him, man. Arcade 1-Up. Just little things.
Little arcades
arcade
in there.
tabs. Yeah. Okay. A lot of people like Tricks. Okay. Last topic, right?
Can
Oh.
we ask you a question? Did you ever want a cereal because of what was in it versus the cereal itself?
All the time. That's what we used to-
Okay.
you know what you guys used to do? You used to shake the box like this before it was even open, and you'd sink
Yeah.
your hand in, and then you'd hope that it was on the outside of
right.
the thing.
Yeah.
If it was on the inside, you had to get your hand all dirty and then pull the toy out.
That's
I
right.
don't know. They don't do that anymore. I don't know.
It had to be parent feedback that was like, "Hey, put it in the box because put it in with the cereal." That's awesome.
All right, we're getting
Yeah.
off track here, but yeah, that was good. Okay, what do we have? One top. Well, that we don't want that. Why do I keep bringing that up? Jeez. What we
Next
have one
one's about
topic
turtles.
left. Yeah, we have here. You can see it in the back. We have BYOP, right? Easy as 1, 2, 3. That's all we have left. Is that correct,
All right,
Ralph?
yeah, that's it. That's it.
All right.
I think so.
Let's do it. What do you think the BYOP stands for?
Well, it's bring your own something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know what the P would be.
We're gonna call it bring your own pinball, right?
Okay. All
So,
right. I was thinking
now-
OPP, but that's inappropriate.
That's other people. So
property.
Yeah, property. That
It's a Rexer show. You can say whatever you want.
As we talk about at games and the pinball, and that's, you know, a big thing now. Let's talk pinball. At games talks about this BYOG pinball, right? And we talk about BYOG on the ALU in different terms. People say, oh, I can just put my games on a flash drive and I'll plug it into my at games and boom, there, you know, I can play games. But that's not what we're talking about exactly with bring your own pinball. Whereas I know that you can stream on the ALU as well and use that platform. But can you talk about, is it as easy as it seems to start using other platforms to bring your games into a pinball machine? And what are the things that might be more difficult than people think?
Yeah, well, I think you bring up an interesting topic because one is BYOG isn't as defined as it could be, right? There's multiple facets of it, so it gets confusing because I think when they're referring to BYOG or BYOP in your term here, but I think they're referring to streaming your pinball game versus putting them on a USB, because as you know, that's not really a thing with pinball. You don't put files. It's not like a ROM. You don't put a file on, although there are ROMs that are involved. You don't put files on a USB and play them off a USB. It's more sophisticated than that. And usually with these like 3/4 scale, you're using some publishers' software, right? So it's Farsight Studios, it's Zen Studios, but then there's like the ultra sophisticated stuff like Visual Pinball 9 and 10. Then that's got its own hardcore community that supports that, and that's a whole other beast. That's usually like the DIY guys that do that.
Yeah. But what are the challenges? What are the challenges if I have games on Steam or another app?
My biggest thing is with pinball, no matter what, latency will kill it, will kill the experience. If you have lag, it totally destroys the experience. So like for me, streaming and pinball like don't even go together. I don't care if you tell me you have the best network in the world, like that would never be how I would play it. So yeah.
But don't you have to get your cabinet, you have to call them and get because it doesn't transfer the exact same from the Android or from Steam onto a pinball table with a DMD screen.
So it's very device specific, right? So if I let's say I have a PC and I'm loading Steam on that, right? And then I want to make sure that I have a playfield and a backglass and a DMD. Well, out of the box, I can't do that with, I'll say FX3. I can't do that out the box with FX3. I've got to actually write an email to their support. They make me take a picture of the cabinet to say what exactly I have, and then they send me back the cabinet code. But even when you get the cabinet code, you have to know like where you're going to have the orientation of the DMD, what size and resolution your back screen is. So it's all dependent on what parts you have, and it can be really confusing. Like it can be messed up just by your operating system all of a sudden swapping displays 1 and 2 around. Now all of a sudden your playfield's on your back glass. Like it's pretty sophisticated. So usually that stuff needs to be hard coded into the software to know exactly what the hardware is to get the best experience. That's actually what Zen is doing on the Arcade 1-Up side. They're customizing all of the elements to say, these are the exact components. When it turns on, it knows where the backglass is, knows where the DMD is, it knows where the playfield is, if there is a backglass. So it's a lot more than just bring your own game, man. That's simplifying it big time, I think.
Yeah, it is. And Justin, when the 1-Up guy was on your show and you guys were talking about pinball, he even said something about the accelerometer. Does it, we have an accelerometer in ours, and that doesn't transfer over from Steam, or it doesn't work like that. What was he talking about? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think he was talking about when we were like the idea of a remote system, right? So that remote computer is going to be what's doing all the logic, right? Not the device that's right in front of you. And then so you got the single screen, you got a second screen, and then you got, signals that need to go from that second computer to drive these motors or these little circuit boards that have motors in it. And all of that to work really well needs to have low latency. I think that's what John was referring to. He was kind of scoffing at the idea of streaming because I think they had zero plans of doing it that way, because taking the hardware and bringing it into the device is the ideal way to bring it to the masses.
Yeah. Okay. So the question is it necessary to BYOP, to hack your pinball machine, to put other games on it? Can't you just be happy with 22 games on a pinball machine, what titles there are? Or can't you be happy with, 10 games or 12 games on an arcade one-up? I don't even want to deal with hacking a pinball machine, and I haven't. And Ralph, you're one of the few who has that, has dabbled in the pinball stuff for a long time. So what you're going to do it for your show, but would you do it? Do you suggest people to hack it or not?
I'll tell you right now, I have one out. I did the Toy Shock mod, and I basically did it like my full size I had, which I now sold. And I probably play 12 tables. Like those are the ones that I go back to all the time because they're my favorite ones. It's like anything else, right? Just because you can have 10, you guys, Rexer, you and I have had this conversation. I've had it with Justin too. Multicades are great, but you also have too many choices sometimes. And it's like, it's endless. So you find yourself scrolling. I don't care. You can say you have favorites and stuff, but why not just build the product with 20 or 10, 20, whatever the number is, like some reasonable amount of really good tables that people want to play. And then it's kind of like a non-issue. And you can go dive into all the pinball forums everywhere. None of them are streaming it, because the local experience is so important, and Android as it is can struggle sometimes to give you the right experience. So these systems aren't going to have big beefy PCs in them. So to me, it's going to be imperative that it's running locally to get the best experience in my mind. Because streaming in pinball, you have the pinball physics. You know this because you play mechanical pinball, Rexer. It's like you want to try to replicate the experience as best you can, because if the ball starts feeling floaty, it kind of ruins it.
Yeah, if it's not bouncing off the bumpers properly, or even off your flipper properly, and it doesn't feel right. It look like. Justin, do you care about BYOP, or you say, I don't care about it?
So I thought about it, and for me, I may be very different than other people, but I'm going through a phase where I'm getting modding fatigue, and I'm starting to unmod my devices. So I've modded 4 of my arcade one-ups, and my plan is to either sell them as is or return them back to factory, because I don't find myself going to those cabinets anymore and scrolling through 10,000 games. So that's one question, right? That answers one question. Like just the multi-cade concept I'm kind of going away from, right? I am excited about a new product called the Polymega, which allows you to kind of do that on a console, but only the games that you buy. It's going to be very selective about the CDs or the cartridges that you purchase, and it can dump it. And now you're sitting on a couch, and maybe, you got your arcade one-ups or any other devices out there that like just have a smaller list of games that I'll actually play, and then I'll play those, right? And then when it comes to the pinball, I just don't see myself streaming pinball to just like you guys were talking about. The hardware local is likely the way I'm going to go.
And Ralph, I'm glad this subject lasts, because we can continue for just a little bit here. But Visual Pinball X, we talk about 9, 10, Visual 10. Can you talk about that? I mean, that's the way to go, right?
Yeah, but I mean, there's a gray area, right? Because a lot of those tables aren't really supposed, it's kind of like the Visual Pinball X is kind of like the RetroPie of pinball, right? Because you go out and you acquire the files that you need to run those games. But I mean, X is now 4K. I mean, it looks amazing, but then you start dealing with this technology called DOF, which is connecting solenoids and accelerometers and all those things, and you have multiple power supplies and junctions, and I mean, it gets really complicated. So I am very interested to see how these companies deploy the solenoid technologies at a cheap cost. Because to me, if you were building, if you said, hey, I want to build a brand new pinball device and I want it to have accelerometers and solenoids, and that would be really expensive to do. Some of these DOF kits on Visual Pinball, like if you get them in some of the base kits, it's like $100 or $200 sometimes for a single solenoid, and that's not even the little junction box you need to hook it up. So I don't know how they're doing it with, maybe, it's possible that when you play these on consoles, the little like motors inside your controller, it does trigger those. So maybe they're using something that's a slightly more powered, and that logic's already there, and they've worked to maybe incorporate a third solenoid, because Arcade One Up was saying they're going to have 2 solenoids on the sides and a third potentially in the back. So you'll get the back bumpers, you'll get the flippers. So it could be kind of cool, but I don't know how they're doing it so cheap. All of the companies. Right.
So you buy your Arcade One Up, the Star Wars, the other one. No, I don't care whichever one you get. Marvel. Ralph, what are you doing to it first? What mod are you doing to it right away? Or are you just, after you do your review, obviously, and after you play it, you're going to do something?
the first thing I want to do is open it up to see how the heck they're doing this at the cost they're doing it. I need to see like, what are the solenoids? How's it hooked up? I really want to see, I'm curious what they're using from a processor standpoint, because I don't believe what they had at CES was the production hardware. I think they were running it on something.
Yeah.
It could have even been like an Android box that was in there, like not their specialized hardware, but it could have been like this thing. Like you can run all those Zen tables on this thing. So it could have been just one of these, in there just to run it.
And then you'll make your determination of, do I want to upgrade or change something?
Well, here's the thing though. If they here's where the modding part of this goes a little sideways, is let's say Zen custom writes the software, which I believe they actually are doing, to work with all the solenoids and everything. There's no guarantee without a higher degree of modding that I can just slap this in, right? And then go, all right, cool. I can have access to all the Zen tables now, and I can buy the ones I want. You can have it online. But what if all of a sudden the interface was specific to the 1UP hardware, which I think it actually is going to be? You might now find yourself in a much larger mod that's much more expensive. So I think people might tend to enjoy these for what they are versus gutting the whole thing.
Right. Justin, you get your arcade 1UP. What are you doing with it?
It's the same thing. I'm more of a tech person than playing games. I'm going to dissect and figure out what they're doing on the inside. And to answer Ralph's question, I think this is why they're releasing 3 at once. It's so they can order 20,000 of each title, and so at scale, I don't know how many they're ordering, but the fact that they got 2 Disney properties and then Attack from Mars, they can make one phone call and say build these, and then they get that price down.
Yeah. Now
at scale.
Okay, Ralph, I think you're going to upgrade the DMD. You're going to figure out some way to get a full size, second monitor in there. You're going to change some stuff on it.
But when you do that, I think you're foregoing the whole processor. I think at that point it's a full on mod. I really do. It's
you
like
have
the
to replace everything.
Yeah, like the Toy Shock, it was a full mod. Like once you were getting rid of the processor, you could have it. There is technology where you can utilize the plunger still, so that is cool. Like they're going to have a plunger in there that you can probably repurpose. But I think if you're going to go down the mod path with these, you end up modding the whole thing or close to the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I don't like letting my show go an hour, so we're going to wrap it up, but I want to get final thoughts from you guys. I actually didn't run this by Ralph. I want maybe next time we get on, I got a little game that I wanted to play with Justin where I made up these either fake or real texts from Ralph, and I was going to ask Justin, you think this one is real or you think it is fake? But maybe next show we'll do that.
That'd be fun to do.
Yeah, there's some doozies. There's some doozies. So maybe that's on another episode. But Justin, final thoughts. What do you think? Any of the topics, anything you want to say, and definitely plug your channel. Although you're mainly focusing on 1UP Weekly now, and Ralph has you doing all the work. So
that's right. I just to let everyone know, I produce 4 different shows now, and the one that I give as the least amount of work is my own, and then of course every Retro Ralph video that comes out comes with 4 hours of phone calls of, should I do it this way? Should I do it that way? Should I do it this way? Or should I do it that way? Then you got 1UP Weekly, and then I'm producing all of the copycat stuff too. So there you go.
All right. There, Ralph, you want to promote your channel? Tell us anything coming up this weekend. What's coming up this weekend? Anything? What do you got new?
I've been just enjoying live streaming lately, to be honest. You and I had talked about this. It takes such a different level of effort to produce a video, and it's been, I think when you do it for so long consistently, you kind of do need a break from it. And I've been having so much fun with, when you shift gears like that, it opens you up for creativity, I think, because you tend to get stuck in a rut doing the same thing. And you guys, I mean, those of you that do produce content for YouTube, the algorithm almost feels like it's this boss that's telling you need to keep making videos.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like this endless cycle, but I'm having a lot of fun right now with the live streaming stuff. So I think I'm going to just try to keep finding these fun games or explore different pinball tables and share them with the community, because everyone seems in it. So why would I, and it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun, and they're half hour stream. It's great, and then there's a lot of pressure on people like you, Ralph, and other channels that do a lot of videos, and there's pressure on them to get them out. Hey, do this, be the first. All the, it's good to just take a step back and say, you know what, I'm just going to stream, and when I'm have the time, I'm going to stream. I'll do a video. So I can, I have a small channel, but I definitely understand that aspect of YouTube, which nobody likes. So, all right, guys, I'm going to call it a day. Hopefully we do this again in a couple weeks. And as always, I always have my trivia show that is a lot of fun. So always tune into that, and we'll.
I got a question for you, Rex, before you end it.
Go ahead.
Are you gonna?
We got to do the sign-up.
There's a pinball and arcade auction tomorrow. Are you gonna be on that?
Yes, I already registered and I got the approval again because I want to do it in advance this time. Last time I butchered it, but I'll definitely be on. I always look for pinballs, and we're talking about pinball, right? I'll just tell you guys a story. Sorry.
Yeah, you were looking for a specific pinball machine, right?
Well, I'll tell you the story. And if so last time I'm on there and I preview all the pinballs and I say, oh, well, I think this pinball is going to be cheap. Nobody's going to want this one. And the one that I was going to buy was called Andromeda Strain. Okay. And I figure, nobody knows Andromeda Strain, the movie. I do as a kid. It's a classic, cult classic maybe. And I go, I'm going to get that one. So the auction comes on, and all the pinballs are going for at least $1,800, right, Ralph? I mean,
yeah,
they're not going for less than
all
that.
of them.
Yeah. So I go, okay. I go in, with a lower budget than that, but I'm like, okay, I got up my budget. I'll go up to, $1,400 for Andromeda, So here comes the bidding, They start at 800. Boom, I put 800 in, right? And the guy hasn't said much about the machine yet, and I figure, right, people don't care about Andromeda. So then, somebody bids 900 and I go up to 1,000, and, then he goes 1,100 and I go 1,200. Then the guy comes on and he's like, yeah, there is only 78 of these pinballs ever made. And I didn't know that, and all this, the thing just starts going boom, boom. Yeah, boom, boom. And he's like, there's only 10 in working condition across the United States. And I'm going, I didn't know. So you gotta know what you're kind of getting into when you go into those auctions and what people are wanting. So I think it ended up going for like 2,200 or 20. And I'm going, man, that was almost as much as, not the Star Wars, but a few of them were, 20. The good titles were, 2,300 or something like that. But the one game I always look for is Whitewater. If I can get a Whitewater, man, I'm going after that one. But those are rare too. So I don't know. But I'll be on. You guys going to do a stream on that tomorrow?
That's our plan.
We're thinking about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, never mind.
Cool.
We are doing it. So the producer said we're doing it.
I said, didn't you send the tweet out that we're not going to do a show Sunday in lieu of the REXER'S show and our Saturday auction? He doesn't listen to anything I say.
No, he doesn't.
No.
So and he says the popularity again has rocketed. It has. The popularity of arcades and pinballs and all that has just it made everything more pricey. And Wolfenos has a couple arcades himself or pinballs himself, and he bought them before though. But and if you get one and you got to work on it, you got problems because they're not like working on arcades. Arcades are a little simpler for the most part. Pinballs, they're just I don't even know where to start on them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can get electrocuted doing pinball, man.
So. Anyway, good. We'll see you guys tomorrow on there. I'll be in the chat for sure. So hopefully you'll see my name pop up as my number bidding on something. So we'll see.
Cool.
But everybody, thanks for joining the REXER'S show. And can we do it, guys?
Let's do it.
See you.
We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, REXER'S. That was fun.
Yeah.